Okay, I think we're live. Hello, hello. Welcome to Turn15. Nice little summer break, winter over here, this side of the world. How y'all doing? How's your drive time commute? Hope you had fun the last 4 weeks without Formula One. It's been a challenge, but we finally got there. We're back. Zandvoort, baby. Here we go. The Dutch Grand Prix. It's been a Max Verstappen stronghold every single year since it came back in 2021. This year promises to be a little bit different. It's already looking like Max won't have it quite so easy this year. Second on the grid. So that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Actually, there's a few stories coming all the way down the grid. It should be a fun race. Should be a fun race, and it's a narrow track. It's a hard track to actually go racing on, but this one looks like it should be a little bit more fun because we've got some drivers out of position, which is sort of a recurring theme this year, actually, come to think of it. Either way. Starting grid for today, Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, Russell, Perez. Top five again, so good work, Checo. Checo's actually back as well. I'll get back to that. Six, Leclerc, then Alonso, Stroll, Gasly, and Sainz. That's your top 10. Tsunoda 11th, Hulk 12th, then Ricardo. Hamilton starting 14th, then Ocon 15th, Bottas and Joe 16th and 17th, then Sargent 18th, Albon disqualified from qualifying in 19th. K-Mag looks like he's starting from the pits. So bad luck, K-Mag. I'm not sure exactly what happened with Kevin Magnussen there. Albon disqualified from qualifying. Something about an illegal flaw. So whoops, a big whoops by Williams. Sargent didn't even get to take part in qualifying, so an even bigger whoops. Bit of news going on about him as well in the last couple of hours, especially in the last day or so. In fact, it's news that I alluded to on a stream. Was it Spa or was it even before that? I said I wouldn't be surprised if Logan Sargent does not see out the season. In fact, I think I was saying it quite a while ago. If it gets to the point where Williams are desperate for points, and they are desperate for points, now that we're at the business end of the championship, it could be that Sargent is just bad luck. Time to go, buddy. We need points. We need the money for next year. Essentially, I think is what Williams will be telling him sooner or later. Kimi Antonelli is my bet to replace Logan Sargent this year. If not Kimi Antonelli, then I've been hearing something like Mick Schumacher. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. He's Mercedes reserve. Toto Wolff would love it. And Toto Wolff and James Vowles, I think, are still quite, connected, but we'll see what happens. Either way, it's been a big 4 weeks. How you all been? About 5 minutes or so, 4 minutes or so to race kickoff time to lights out. Should be a fun one, this one. So Norris, Verstappen, Piastri is a great top three. Will we see a repeat of Hungary if Norris and Piastri get themselves mixed up? Will Verstappen be able to do anything about them? Long run pace so far says maybe not. Maybe not. McLaren have absolutely stolen a march this year on the championship. It's a shame that they waited so long to get it done because I think the driver's title is gone. I think it's absolutely gone. I think McLaren are now saying, they're still saying that it's not quite time to be putting Lando above Piastri in terms of favoritism for the championship. But fellas, like that, I think that ship sailed. Constructors Championship, that's what they've got all eyes on now, and they're only 40 or so points, 42 or so points, I think, behind Red Bull, catching them at a massive rate of knots. I think they're going to get them, so we'll see if Checo lasts the entire season. We'll see. From all accounts, he was out. He was out of the door, even going into the meeting after Spa, before the summer break on the Monday. Checo was out of the team. It's, I don't know, by some sort of miracle, he, I am not a robot style, kept his seat. And now Lawson is still sitting on his ass doing absolutely nothing. Just looking at the tyre allocations for the grid as well. Tsunoda, Hamilton, Bottas on the softs, Magnussen on the hards, everybody else on the mediums. So it looks pretty similar in terms of strategy. Now, one other thing to look out for today would be the rain. It has been absolutely storming all weekend, on and off. It's I remember last year it was a massive surprise to start the race where the race got going, and then halfway around the first lap it started pissing down. So doesn't look like a repeat of that yet, but there have been a lot of storms in the area, so should be fun to keep an eye on. I haven't heard anything about rain interrupting the race today, but you never know. It's Zandvoort, these things just suddenly turn up. Nothing quite like a sudden storm out of nowhere, which is probably as likely here as it is in Spa. Now, while we were away, big news. Carlos Sainz has finally signed a deal to race next year. He's going to Williams after all. Mercedes, it turns out, they've been flirting with Max Verstappen for the whole time. They've been kind of keeping Carlos Sainz a little bit around. I think Carlos Sainz is, his whole year has basically been, he's been dumped by his bird and he's at the bar and he's trying to pick up somebody. He's trying to figure out which broad to go home with, and he really likes this one and he really likes that one, and this one over here he's not that keen on, but she likes him. And now it's 4 a.m. and the bar is closing, and well, he's gonna have to just go for her, innit? Anyway, he says that he was convinced by James Vowles' arguments for the team. They're going places, essentially. Well, so he's saying they're going places, they're doing a lot of right things. This season is a bit of a struggle. Well, it's a lot of a struggle for them, but it's a necessary struggle, I think. This is the recession they had to have, if you want to put it that way. They had a lot of things that they needed to get in order back at the factory, processes and things like that. I think they'll be getting more staff in as well. So it really is a work in progress, and this is really like step 1 or step 2 of 50, 500 steps, whatever it might be. They're still right at the start, but he likes the vision of the team. He likes where it's going. Me, I'm not so certain. I don't think they have the capability or the person to pull a McLaren and to turn a customer team into a championship contending team. I don't see it right now. I bloody hope for the love of God that Williams can get something right. Because I'm a big fan of Carlos Sainz, and it's fucking hurt the whole season. It's kind of dawned, especially now that he signed for Williams over Red Bull and over Mercedes. It's dawned on us that he really is never going to be a world champion, which is a crushing feeling, isn't it? George Russell, Charles Leclerc fans, you might actually have that coming up sooner or later, especially if Kimi Antonelli is as quick as they say he is. And if Mercedes ends up stealing a march on the rest of the field with their engine for 2026, which again is what I'm hearing is going to happen. Now the cars have started the formation lap. How about that? Right into it. Almost while I wasn't looking. So I've got my little buddy down here still making a whole lot of noise, as he does every single week. So anyway, long story short, Carlos Sainz signed for Williams. It is what it is at this point. It's probably, any port in a storm, and this is the best looking port because the rest of them are either shit or they're not available. Kimi Antonelli probably going to be announced at Mercedes next week at Monza, which is what I've been hearing for a long time. He might end up maybe getting the Williams seat. I was thinking that they would keep Logan Sargent in at least through COTA in order to please American sponsors and things like that. I mean, they are owned by Dalton Group, who are American, but James Vowles has been, look at the grandstands, absolutely filled with orange. A lot of McLaren fans out today, I see. Haha. Anyway, I think Williams might be keen to keep Logan Sargent at least through one more American race, but that could end up being it. They're going to be put in a desperate situation where they need points, and Logan Sargent, well, that was a big wreck that he did yesterday. A whole lot of new parts on that car already trashed, so he's in the bad books. He's in the doghouse. And also Jack Doohan, bloody fantastic. Jack Doohan announced for Alpine for next year, taking over Esteban Ocon's seat, who is fucking off to Haas. Been hearing that that's probably a dead certainty through the summer break. I think he's managed by Flavio Briatore as well, if I have that right. So, now that Flavio's essentially back in charge of Alpine, what he says goes. Actually, in charge of Alpine day-to-day race operations right now is Oliver Oakes, younger than me. Oh my god, what am I doing with my life? Anyway, Oliver Oakes of High Tech Grand Prix. There's been a lot of speculation that maybe the Mazepins could be involved. I think the Mazepins are still involved in some capacity with High Tech in a don't ask, don't tell, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. This Russian money ain't coming from anywhere. Don't think about it sort of deal. I think High Tech might end up trying to buy that entry. Which, they tried to get one of the new F1 entries and they were turned down by the FIA, let alone F1 and Liberty and all the rest of them. So we have all cars pulling up to the grid now. Alex Albon parks. That's all of them there. Light sequence is going to start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gone. All right. Average start by the front of the grid, and Max has absolutely stolen it. Lando, bad start. Piastri, bad start. And look at Russell coming up as well. Russell potentially up into third. Yes, there he goes. Checo's, I think, 5th or 6th now, so he's not really made a great start. Looks pretty comfortable between all the drivers. Pretty cozy between them going through that bank turn 3. Ooh. Oh, Charles Leclerc's having a right old look at Piastri. I don't know about that, mate. Not a lot of room there. Up to the top of the track here. So it files into single file pretty quickly. At this track, it's very, very narrow. It's like a really high-speed Hungary. It looks like the Haas is going side by side there. Oh, and look at Sainz coming through. In fact, yeah, while I was prattling on before, I didn't even go on about the grid. Lewis Hamilton, bad grid slot. Carlos Sainz, bad grid slot. So watch for them today. They should be making a lot of moves. They should make the rest of the race very, very interesting. And here we go. Lewis Hamilton on the back of Yuki Tsunoda. No. That's Yuki Tsunoda, David Croft. Get it right. This looks like Fernando Alonso on an Alpine. Oh. Gasly stays ahead. Look at Carlos Sainz has split the Alpine, the Aston Martins rather as well. Look at Alonso. Oh. That extreme banking, it's a little bit counterintuitive. It's not like a flat corner where the inside line is probably the fastest. With a bank corner, you take more road around the outside line, but it gives you such a higher speed slingshot out of the corner. It's always going to be the faster way through there. Albon's had a decent start as well, up 2 places. Bottas up 2 places. Joe down 2. Poor Zhou Guan Yu. He's done, I think. Lewis Hamilton past Yuki Tsunoda. So good pass there by Lewis Hamilton, who ended up inheriting to the Spa win as well, about an hour. Oh, Tsunoda with a big block there on Bottas. That's a big block around the front straight. Oh. It's reached the point where I'm making noises every time I move. It's that part of the season. So all the soft runners have found each other on track here. Hamilton, Tsunoda and Bottas. So the soft absolutely worked for Bottas. Yeah, poor Zhou Guan Yu has absolutely lost any bit of confidence he ever had with that car. I think it's done. And he looks like he's going to be out. Sargent, Joe, Magnussen. In fact, the bottom 3 in this race right now are all going to be on their way out of Formula 1 at the end of the season. Bottas too, unless Alpine decides to keep him after all. Not Alpine, sorry, Audi. They're running out of drivers too. They wanted Sainz and they didn't get him. They're I've heard all sorts of names now that Mattia Binotto was in charge, and they've picked up that Wheatley fella from Red Bull. I've heard Seb Vettel. I don't believe that. I've heard Gabriel Bortoletto, but he's a McLaren junior, so I don't know. I mean, McLaren don't really have an open spot, so maybe they wouldn't mind putting him there. He looks handy as well. Looks really good. Looks very quick in his F2 campaign so far. Not that it really matters, because Behrman's been pretty bloody average this year in F2. I mean, he's not had a lot of luck, and his team's absolutely taken a nosedive, but one win all season, and he's secured an F1 drive. I get the feeling Behrman's a lot better than his F2 season has indicated this year. Like I said, he's had a lot of bad luck. It's going to be interesting to see, actually. There's such a big shuffle of drivers coming. It's almost like this is just going through the motions now through the end of the year. Like I said, I cannot see Max Verstappen losing this championship, especially if he wins today. I think fucking stick a fork at it. He's got more than 3 wins to the good over Lando Norris in second. I think it's done. So, lap 5 of 72, we got Verstappen, Norris, Russell, Piastri, Leclerc, Perez, Gasly, Alonso, Sainz, Stroll. That's your running order. Hulkenberg's just outside the points. Hamilton just behind Hulkenberg, 0.4 seconds. So expect Lewis to make a move very, very soon. Bottas is already starting to drop off the back of Yuki Tsunoda. Daniel Ricciardo, disappointing qualifying out of him yesterday. Really, when he's really going for that Red Bull seat now. Now, Helmut Marko's come out, not that way. Helmut Marko's come out in the week and said that Liam Lawson will be in a Red Bull car next season. Now, exactly what he means by that remains to be seen. You'd imagine they've only got one seat that is not signed for next year, but he didn't say it would be that seat. He's very, very tricky. I think Red Bull have given Checo to the end of the year. I mean, I was positing during the Spa stream last month that I could, there was another 4-week break coming up and I could well see them revisiting the Checo question in another 4 races' time. I know there's split floors between Max and Checo, split floors specifications. Just a replay of the start. It's pretty well behaved, to be honest. Just a little bit of shuffling around. So what's happened here? Norris on pole, just wheel spin, bad start, sluggish, real sluggish. And look at Max, just killed it. Yeah. Just slow out of Lando Norris on the start. So on board with Gasly. So he's just hung it around the outside all through turn 1. I mean, pretty tidy, pretty clean around the outside of 2, which gives him the inside of 3, and he's sort of taken that middle line through the banking. Decent speed exit out of it. It's a quick start out of Charles Leclerc. He just had nowhere to go. He found Oscar Piastri right in front of him. It's the thing with these tracks, these older school tracks, they're very tight, very narrow, and what's this K-Mag going off at turn 1? It's a replay there. Dear goodness. Well, that's not going to do his tyres any favours, but he's already caught right up to the back of Zhou Guan Yu. Even after that big fuck up. K-Mag, who also started from the pits as well, so he's got some kind of speed there compared to this Albon. Sweet. So here we are, lap 8. It's really calmed down now. I think it's going to be, this looks like it's going to be a pit stop race. Milestone 200th Formula 1 Grand Prix for Max Verstappen. Seriously, it's been that many. God, but he's so young. 200 fucking races. What is he, 26? Mid-20s, and he's done 200 of these fucking things. This Jean Alesi did, I think, 201 races at the end of his career, and he was an old fart by the end of it. Fucking Christ. I remember I was at Max Verstappen's first race actually in Albert Park in 15, and I mean he was quick. You knew he was quick. I suppose it was a while ago, wasn't it? 2015. Didn't seem that long ago, but I guess it really was a while ago. You could tell he was very special right from the start. Very, very, very quick. Very, very quick. I mean, here we are, and he's well on the way to his 4th championship in a row. Norris, who are we racing? Do you think it's just Max? I think... Who are we racing? Do you think it's just Max? So that's his engineer asking Lando Norris that. Now, is he worrying about Russell behind him, or is he worrying about Piastri as well? If you're hearing any odd noises, let me know, but my cat's decided to start licking himself right next to my microphone. Thanks, buddy. I know that's a good pass from Carlos Sainz on the outside of Fernando Alonso at turn 1. That's good stuff. I can't imagine what the pit wall asking Norris that question is for. Like, why are they asking him? I thought that it must have been switched. Who do we think we're racing? What the fuck are they asking Norris that for? Unless it's just sarcasm and they want him to go slower or some shit like that. Maybe they think that... Maybe they said if Max gets by, they're not going to get by him. So just focus on Russell behind and everything else. Maybe they're telling Norris, slow down and don't take too much out of your tyres because the Merc will jump you. Oh, now this is Carlos Sainz on Pierre Gasly. That's... Oh, he had a good run up the straight. Gasly wide in turn 1. Just a little bit off the apex, but stays ahead. Into turn 3 now. God, it's a real roller coaster of a track, this one. I love just the banking and... The corners are so high speed. It's a real, it'd be a lovely track to thrash an F1 car around for sure. It reminds me of the Hungaroring, just quicker. So Hamilton past Hulkenberg. Stroll next, 0.6 seconds. Stroll to Hamilton. There's Oliver Oakes at Alpine. That's his first race weekend in charge of that team. Now, I get the feeling, and I mentioned it before very quickly, but I get the feeling Sauber in there, why do we bother? It's true. I don't know. Like, Bottas, I think, is really driving for his career now. Here's Carlos Sainz on Pierre Gasly around the inside. Gasly will have a lot of speed on the outside, though. Side by side. Into turn 2. Gasly will have the inside line until he gets pushed out by Carlos Sainz. Well done. Sainz is making the most of a competitive car because he fucking won't have one next year. Yeah, Sauber's why do they bother arc? Honestly, they've had a few of these arcs in my time of watching them. God, I remember, what was it, 2015? No, they did all right in 2015. What year was it? 2014, I think they didn't score a point. They didn't score a point a couple of years ago as well, I'm pretty sure. What was that? It wasn't any of the Alfa Romeo years. Whatever, either way, I mean, Sauber just are... For the most part, they just are a why do we bother fucking team. It's why they got bought by BMW. It's why they're being bought by Audi, because Sauber itself, it's a bit like if Jordan had survived, you know? Like, you know they're not really going to do anything. I mean, Sauber essentially are just like a Swiss Haas, but with a little bit more history. Speaking of Haas, they're doing actually quite well this year, but they're running out of the points this year. Or this race. K-Mag down in 19th, so he's still past Zhou Guanyu. Poor Zhou, I think he's done. I think mentally he's done. I think Bottas is still driving for his career because he has an outside shot of still getting that Audi seat. At least for 25. He could still race for Sauber, but I mean, at this at that point, you know, wouldn't you just be happy? You've already made your millions. You've won 10 races. That's decent. You know, if Bottas is forced to hang up his helmet at the end of this season, he has 10 wins. He's had a second place in the championship. He's won Constructors' Championships. Alright, so Piastri getting asked plan A or plan B, and Piastri saying plan A, which I guess is just... So, they're asking, do you want to undercut Russell or do you want to go long, essentially? And I think he says, let's just run the original plan, whatever that may be, which is, we will see when he ends up pitting. Are you right, mate? There, how's that? There you go. Now, where was I? Yes, Sauber. Puh, get rid. Audi, I think they're an interesting bunch, and Albon in the pits. All right, so the first to stop, Alex Albon. That's a slow stop as well. Front left. Looked like it took a little bit more time to get on. 2.6, it's not that slow, but what is that? About 2 or 3 tenths probably slower than they would have been hoping. I can't remember what I was talking about now. Albon's just totally thrown me. Fuck it, who cares? Oh yeah, that's right, Audi. Alright, Norris radio, so they're trying to figure out how the fuck they're going to get past Max Verstappen. Now, Norris has actually crept into DRS range of Max Verstappen here. So he's not letting him really get away. I think his best chance here is to try the undercut. If Max pits first, I think fucking good luck, Norris, trying to get by him. As Hamilton gets past Lance Stroll. So those soft tyres still going well. Anyway, Audi, I think, are a different proposition now that Siedel's out, and Verstappen complaining about his car. He's been doing that all year, and he still somehow has 7 wins, so, you know. That said, he hasn't won since June. Which is actually amazing, come to think of it. Is it June or July? Whatever. He hasn't won in a good few races now, which is really surprising. Really surprising. You just kind of get used to him winning all the time. I mean, McLaren have totally caught up, and it looks like Mercedes have really caught up as well. So the rest of the season, it's a shame they took so long to really get their act together, because we don't have a championship fight really worth a shit. I mean, the Constructors' Championship's on, but Drivers' title fight, yeah. Team championship fight, gives a shit. Either way, Audi, I think, is a different proposition now that Mattia Binotto's in charge. Look at that camera angle on Lando Norris, lovely. I will make this point, even if it fucking kills me. It's a different proposition now, so it could be a lot... Hulk and Tsunoda in the bits. It could be a lot more interesting for some drivers to attach themselves to the Audi project. I think Ricciardo gets past Bottas. Ooh, woof. But now he's 5.5 seconds behind Ricciardo, so getting stuck behind that Sauber has absolutely killed his race. I'd say his qualifying also killed his race, but, you know, whatever. I want to be keen to see what Audi can do from here on out. I'm not expecting them to do really shit. If they score at all for the rest of the season, it will be incidental. They will be lucky to do it, and it will probably be Bottas doing it. I think a lot is riding on who they get next year. Hulkenberg is a decent hire for them. Now, they're not going to be great next year. I just don't see it. 26 is a different sort of proposition. That's what everybody else is going to be looking at. They could end up keeping Bottas for next season, just to tide them over, to get them through. It's a bit of continuity. Bottas is a known element. They know what he brings and all of that stuff. And it's not like he's a shit driver. Come on, Hamilton sizing up Fernando Alonso there. Into turn 1, and through he goes. So Hamilton absolutely on the move. Those soft tyres are doing him really well. Now Bottas is in the pits as well. This shouldn't be a problem as well, Bottas pitting. I think Sauber have gotten on top of their early season calamities in pit stops. Wait. But, I mean, the calamity now with Sauber is everything else on the track. You know, the bits that they bring to the car either don't work or they don't make it any quicker. It's a real pig of a car that they made this year. A real pig. It's not good. Look at Norris really getting close to Max Verstappen here now. Really, really close. So again, the long run pace isn't really there for the Red Bull. Now, if you're Lando Norris, would you just pit? I mean, you'd absolutely get the undercut. It really depends where they think their pit window is. God, Norris just came from nowhere there, didn't he? Verstappen radio. Complaining about his tyres. Oh, dear. So, that's not good. It's not good for Max. It's great news for Norris. Now, there exists a scenario in which McLaren can get 1-2s with Norris ahead for the rest of the season, as my cat insists on making carnage. They could get a 1-2 for the rest of the season. Or, look at Norris go. And he's passed. Into turn 1. Oh, watch out, guys. Yeah, no, they battled well this time. Well done, guys. Had shades of Austria there for a second when they got really, really close on the exit of turn 1, but good move by Norris. Good move. Now he absolutely has to make it count. He's got the pace as well, Lando does. I don't even think that Max would be able to properly undercut him. All right, so now we'll see Lando Norris stretch his legs and see what he can do. Just look at the rate of speed in which he closed on Max Verstappen into turn 1. A lot cleaner than that Austria fuck up this time. God, that thing is very, very quick at a straight line, isn't it? Now that's Piastri and Leclerc. So Leclerc now closing up on Piastri. Piastri's dropped to about 1.5 seconds behind Russell. You can see them there on the main straight. Norris, what's the plan from here? Win. Win, Lando. That's what it is. Yeah, so Lando sounds happy with his tyres. He might try to undercut, but that's cool, says the pit wall. So yeah, I'm not sure Verstappen really has the pace to be able to pull an undercut here. That McLaren just looks fundamentally quicker. And the long run pace, it just doesn't look like is really there. It's just not there for Red Bull, so McLaren really have them covered. Now, the big thing is, what can Oscar Piastri do? Can he get himself in this fight at all? He'll need to get past George Russell, and I think probably an undercut is the way that he'll need to do that. The Mercedes, I think, is a lot more kind on its tyres than the Red Bull. That said, I don't want to shit on the guy because it's happened the whole season, but Checo's down there in 6th, and this is where they really need... I was about to say that Piastri needs to be there to help his teammate, but Max Verstappen's been fucking fighting alone for quite a while now, hasn't he? I was hearing word that maybe Liberty Media might have been involved in keeping Checo on at Red Bull And I'm not sure exactly how true that is. I do know that they have. All right, Nora's saying either his brakes are going or there's a lot more wind. It could be wind. They're right on the beach and it's been blowing a gale all weekend. Wouldn't be that surprising, to be honest. Forgot what point I was making now. It's a very distracting race, this one. There's always just something happening. Somebody's making a stop, or somebody's making a pass, or somebody's just talking shit on the radio. Oh, yes, Checo, that's it. Liberty being involved in Checo staying on. I'm not sure how true that is. Wouldn't be the craziest thing that I've ever heard out of Formula One. Out of FOM or that lot. They've got a Mexican Grand Prix coming up. And I was thinking about that as well. Like, how much do you really want to ditch Checo right before Mexico? If you're Liberty, if you're the promoter of the race, or if you're promoter of the championship, and the Mexican Grand Prix always goes fucking off. It is absolutely fantastic. It is crammed full of people. It's a total party, and they are all mostly, yeah, look at the flags in the back blowing a gale. They are mostly there to see Checo do his thing, which, if memory serves me, last year his thing lasted for all of about a lap or two last year, and he totally fucked it up. I mean, he's had a couple of podiums there in the past, so they would be keen to maybe see him win, but I think Checo now is furthest, probably further than he's been from a win in Mexico. God, probably since before his Red Bull days. It's Abby pulling there. F1 Academy driver. Won a lot of races at F1 Academy, but what's it really worth? It's a bit like W Series, isn't it? And that you had Jamie Chadwick running away with the shit, winning nearly every race, and then fighting against a grid full of other guys in Freck or in Indy Lights, and just kind of nowhere. Won a race in Indy Lights this year, actually, she did. The Indy Lights and Formula One are very, very different prospects. Not sure we'll see Abby pulling in a Formula One car. In fact, I'm not sure what it's going to take. Looking through all the women in the ladder going down, I'm not sure if any of them are F1 material, to be honest. It's kind of hard to pick who exactly is going to make it, because there's a lot of guys who you would swear blind would make it. Checo out Pato Award in, let's move it into existence. Fucking sign me up. Oh my god, could you imagine? Oh, sign me up, I'm there. Oh yeah, keep going. Fuck, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Actually, I think Pato is probably going to be there doing a free practice session for McLaren, so that'll be fun. Oh god, I'm not sure how. I mean, hey, Pato was part of Red Bull for about 6 months. He said there was an interview or a podcast or something where he was reflecting on that. He failed to qualify for the Indy 500 in 2019. You know, he crashed on quali day, and a bit like Nolan Siegel did this year, where he wrecked the car and there kind of was no backup. It was 18 or 19, whatever it was. It was right after he sort of debuted in IndyCar, because he and Colton Herta were going to be teammates. And then that 2-car effort turned out to be 1 car. Oh, really close fighting there between Gasly and Lewis Hamilton. Really, really close. Lewis almost losing his front wing in turn 1. So Gasly really likes that outside line through turn 1. I mean, fuck, it works for him. It's a bit like oval racing, where you keep so much more speed on the outside. You can just keep it flatter. Yeah, anyway, Pato was part of the Red Bull program, and he failed to qualify for Indy after a big crash, and then he featured in F2, I think it was in Austria that season, and he was in Super Formula as well. And the whole idea was, he said that he was not signed to Red Bull as a driver program, he was signed to Red Bull Racing, And this is when they were looking for a replacement for Daniel Ricciardo. Max complaining about his car there. Hamilton in the pits. Okay, here we go. And he's on the hards, it looks like. So I think he'll be one and done in the pits then. All right, then. Now, where's Hamilton going to come out in terms of traffic? Interesting. Either way, Pato's saying that he was contracted to Red Bull Racing. And basically it fell apart when they realised the Super Formula thing wasn't going to get him the points that he needed to race in Formula One. Again, this Max Verstappen rule of the super license points and the age restriction, which they've just dropped down to 17 as well. Leclerc in the pits now. Verstappen 4 seconds now behind Norris. Jesus Christ. I think Norris has got this one. Uh-oh. Looks like we might have a fight. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I mean, the TLDR of it is Pato O'Ward did not end up in Formula One, but God, I'd love to see him there. Pato, Colton Herta. There's a few drivers in who, actually that comes back to my point before, there's a few drivers who you'd swear blind would make it, or could make it, or should make it in Formula One. Anna Dragovic is probably not on everyone's list, or Teo Porcher, but they were both F2 champions, you know. I think they both at least deserved a shot. And they never got it. They probably never will. I mean, maybe some crazy scenario happens, like how we got Jack Aitken on the grid for one race, or Pietro Fittipaldi on the grid for 2 races, but those were very exceptional circumstances. I just can't see Porcher, Dragovic on the grid, and in the same way, I just can't see Abby pulling on the grid for Formula One. I just don't see it. Do not see it. Who knows? Maybe I'll be surprised. That's a slow stop, isn't it, from George Russell? 3.4 seconds. That was fucking crawling pace. Good grief. Ooh, so Russell's going to come out behind the Aston Martin. Oof. All right, so Russell's just lost a place to Leclerc. He's lost a place to Alonso. I mean, Alonso's still going to pit, but Leclerc's jumped him now. Shit. Okay, so this is probably going to... We'll see what Piastri can do from here, then. Also see what Checo can do from here. If we could have another team to fit these drivers in, maybe something with racing pedigree. Like, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Andretti in Formula One. I really would. As Russell goes right past Alonso on his old shitty tyres, I would love to see Fernando Alonso... Not Fernando Alonso. I'd love to see Fernando Alonso race until he's 50, to be honest. But I'd love to see Andretti on the grid. The sport's got room for 12 teams. Let's face it, it does. Not every track apparently has room for 12 teams, but most of them do. I mean, they definitely got room for 11 teams if you've got fucking fake Apex GP following the fucking thing around, filming that stupid fucking movie. Now, what's this Russell stop? Slow on the jacks, slow with the tyres. Bad stop all round. Good work, Mercedes. So Lewis Hamilton getting by Esteban Ocon, as you'd expect he would. Quick, smart. Hulkenberg up the road next for him. Then K-Mag. Yeah. Speaking of new teams, I get the feeling High Tech is going to try to purchase that Renault entry. I mean, it's Alpine, but if they stop making engines, what are they anymore? I don't think they're any use. In fact, it's that news has gone down. Max pits. Hard tyres. It's like a pretty bog standard stop. 2.5 seconds, yep. So now, where does Verstappen fill back in? He should be able to clear Gasly here. Yeah, he should be out. In front, the Pierre Gasly. Yeah, easily. Nailed it. Nailed it. So it's probably as good as that stop could have gone for Red Bull there. Science is about 10 seconds up the road. A lot of free air for Verstappen. So now, what does Norris do? Now, Norris had a lot of pace in hand, so the undercut shouldn't really be affecting him here. Do they just mimic the Red Bull strategy? It's probably a decent bet, you know. If Max isn't going to pit again, may as well. McLaren are out in the pits. Now, who is this going to be for? It's Norris. Here we go. Now, what are they going to do? How's this going to be? It looks okay. It's slow. It's not a great stop. Not sure about that front left. I hope it went on. It didn't look like a very confident stop out of McLaren either. I mean, the car got going, so it must have worked, but... good grief. Anyway, TLDR, there is room for more teams, and it's a shame that Andretti was not given an entry because they were a racing team. What we're seeing right now is what happens when a manufacturer enters a racing team, and that they are very what's the word? Supercilious. They'll just pull the plug at a moment's notice. Car sales are down. Can the F1 team? See you later, and then you're in trouble. The FIA, Liberty, all of them, they want to chase manufacturers to enter Formula One because it gives it more prestige, it gives it more money, it gives it more exposure, things like that. But what it doesn't give it is stability long term. McLaren as a race team exists to race. Ferrari is probably the only exception as a manufacturer. Haas, as bullshit as they are, exist to race in Formula One. Aston Martin, which is just a badge really, in it. Stroll's team exists to race in Formula One, is what I'm getting at. Williams exists to race in Formula One. That's a slow stop for Checo. That's slow. That's really slow. 4.4 seconds. Oh, that's not done him any favours at all. Didn't see what the hold-up was there. It's just slow. Either way, chasing manufacturers, like the FIA has been trying to pester. That's Hamilton coming in ahead of the Haas of Magnussen, so he's passed both Haases now. He's on a mission today, is Lewis. It's interesting that he's going to be leaving this team, actually, because they look like they're really hitting their stride again. I mean, qualifying went completely wrong for them, but apart from that, he's looked quick. I don't know. Maybe Lewis likes the feeling of missing championships. Maybe he just discovered how much he likes having a disaster team that can't fix its car over the last couple of years, and he thought, fuck, I'd love this every season. Where can I get that every season? Ferrari, absolutely. Sign me up. You know, it's going to be awkward in Lewis Hamilton's camp. I mean, not only is Adrian Newey not going to Ferrari, and that's basically a dead cert now, but it's going to be bloody awkward when Kimi Antonelli is winning races next year and Lewis isn't. I would say it'd be fun if Carlos Sainz was winning a race for Williams and Ferrari wasn't, but let's face it, that is pure fucking fantasy land. So, Sainz Perez is going to be very close. Checo will get him here, surely. Yeah, Checo with the exit speed out of turn 1. So there's a right old pit stop shuffle going on now. So who hasn't pitted yet? Piastri, Gasly, Alonso, and K-Mag. All right. Stroll and O'Connor finally hit the pits for the first time. And I would imagine Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Albon, etc. would probably be stopping a second time later in the race. Either that or they're going to absolutely punish those tyres. Yeah. Gonna be interesting to see what happens. Oh, Checo and Alonso getting close. Yeah, Alonso just sort of lets it go. I'm not sure what the strategy with Alonso is here. Just keep on running, run until the tires fucking wear through the canvas. Unless he pits right now, and it looks like he is. Okay, so Alonso's finally pitting. God, Aston Martin are really stuck in a no man's land this year. They're just not really that competitive, but they're not really that shit either. Like Tottenham. Is everyone just kind of fucking slow with the stops today? Everything outside the white lines on the track looks like it's stuck in the 70s. It's bizarre. That's the Netherlands for you. It looks like fucking Normandy. Like all the dunes and shit like that. Like, I mean, the track itself is pretty Kano, and I love the atmosphere that the Dutch bring to it. Like, through the town of Zandvoort, marching through there, and all the flares and all of that shit. It looks fantastic. But God, it's a bit like... It's like fucking putting a racetrack behind a beach in Perth. It's just shrubs and dunes and shit. You know, they put a race in Miami or Monaco or Singapore, like down near the ocean, or even Yas Marina, and we got these massive structures, big LEDs on buildings and shit like that. The hotel with all the lights and shit on it, the Marina Bay and all of that, and it looks fantastic. And then you get a racetrack right next to the beach, and it's this fucking thing. It's just, it's a real bygone era, bizarre sort of racing. In fact, from what I hear as well, take a good look, because Zandvoort is in Formula One next year. After that, it's a real toss-up. I've been hearing that they're going to alternate it maybe with Belgium, with Spa. One race 1 year, the other the next year. A bit like Nürburgring and Hockenheim used to share the German Grand Prix when that was still a thing, before Germany figured, fuck it, we don't like fun things, so can the Grand Prix. Piastri now into the pits. Now, where's Piastri going to come out? I'd say Leclerc's going to get him for sure. Russell could well get him here as well. Oh, it's going to be close. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. No, Russell's got him. It's not that close after all. But he's ahead of Checo. Well done. So each of their cars is ahead of each of the Red Bulls. That's probably a good result, all things considered. The thing is, he's kind of stuck in fifth now, unless he wants to get his real racing boots on. What is this? A slow stop for Gasly. Oh, I don't think that tyre was fixed. Is it fixed? The front right? No, I think he was. I don't think he was doing the tyre. The fella. I think he was adjusting the front wing. I think he was trying to put a bit more angle, maybe a bit less angle in the front wing, and Gasly's just sort of taken off while he's still working on that. Whoops. I need to keep a tally of things that I've prophesized while watching Formula One, which have then come true. Because I was saying during Spa, not to toot my own horn, beep beep, I was saying during the Spa race I could see Checo getting kept on at least until the next break of 4 races, and behold, in 6th place, Checo. I've been saying for a while now that I don't think Logan Sargent is going to see out the season, either through necessity, because Williams need points and they can't have Sargent just fucking up at the back, or maybe Antonelli gets shoved in there by Mercedes and Logan, too bad, get out. Which looks like it could well happen now. I've been right about a few things now. What I'm saying is, I've watched this sport for a long time. I'm pretty good at figuring out what I'm saying. If I were like club shop Ty, right? And I talked nothing but shit. I get the feeling it'd be funny to laugh at this channel. Not just because it looks like it's filmed in a fucking trailer park, but the content as well. The opinions that you hear, I think it'd be easier to laugh at this channel and it would be fun that way. I'd be a lol cow, but fortunately for me, fortunately for you, dear watcher, I am rather attuned to all of this sort of stuff. Got my eyes on the prize, I've got my ear to the floor, always hearing, always listening. What makes sense? What would be good here? What will happen? I can manifest it. I can say, oh, we're going to have Antonelli and Nat Williams. And you know what? In hindsight, maybe it's bloody obvious. But what I'm saying is I was saying Sargent's not going to see out the season. And I was saying that way back in the first couple of races, I think. Jamie, pull that up. Ricardo past Bottas into turn 1. I've just been talking shit. I barely even said what's happening on track here. So anyway, lap 36 of 72, which is half distance. How about that? Norris leading, Verstappen 8 seconds behind. Ugh, it's over. Norris fastest lap as well. As in, he's just banged in a fastest lap. Oh, that McLaren looks untouchable today. Leclerc 13th, then Russell, then Piastri, then Perez, Sainz, Hamilton, Hulkenberg, K-Mac. Now, everybody, except for K-Mag, everybody has made a stop. No further investigation. Gasly, unsafe release. Yeah, it didn't look like anything really. You know, the wheel, when they say unsafe release, what they mean is a car coming? Like, is he going to crash in pit lane, or are the wheels attached to the car? And all of that shit was fine. It was just the guy didn't get his hand out of the way entirely in time. They always try to cut these things close, but it was a little bit closer than maybe you'd really want in getting some wing angle added to the front. Nothing seeing here. All good. God, those Astons are fucking down, aren't they? Okay, so Adrian Newey to Aston Martin. And that's what I've been hearing. A lot of people were saying at the start of the season, Adrian Newey to Ferrari, and I was wondering, is he really going to go to Italy at this stage of his career? God, he's so close to retirement almost, you know? Like, he's been doing this since the fucking 80s. He could walk away tomorrow and he would have the most accomplished career of anybody on the grid. Stroll incident, speeding in pit lane. Lance was having such a good weekend as well, up until Q3-ish. Fuck me dead. Under investigation. Look, if it's speeding in the pit lane, it's a slam dunk. You know, somebody has got pinged on the radar. This time it's Stroll, and that never lies. So Piastri now just 1.6 seconds behind George Russell. If he can get past George Russell, I think Piastri can get past Leclerc. Assuming he doesn't take too much out of his tyres. If he can get past Russell, I think he can get past Leclerc. That McLaren is quick, and I am feeling brave, I'll call it. I think McLaren is going to be absolutely fighting for the title next year. Will they win it? Remains to be seen, but I like the way that they're going. And I was saying even back when Sainz joined that team, I like where it's headed. The management is good. A lot of people don't like Zach Brown. He rubs them up the wrong way, I guess. But he has absolutely board of management Mercedes group in pit lane at Mercedes. Well, they're not going to really be happy with 4th and 8th. It's not exactly where that team wants to be right now. It's going to be even worse when McLaren, their customer, ends up passing them on track. Oscar Piastri looks like he's only a couple of laps away from doing. But yeah, the job that Zach Brown's done with this team has just been phenomenal. You know, they were horrible when he took over. I remember 16, well, the whole Honda debacle, 15, 16, 17, terrible. 14 was bad for them. 13 was bad for them. And looks like, okay. So Lance, 5-second penalty for speeding the pit lane. It looks like he just came in. The first couple of meters, he was over. That's it. You know, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. And in the end, it is an advantage on the track. So, you know, I mean, punishment, safety, etc., etc. It's a slam dunk. Piastri right on the back of George Russell here. Oh. Also, interestingly, look at Albon riding in 11th. Gasly half a second behind Albon as well. 10th place looks like it's going to be quite a fun fight here. That's Piastri around the outside of George Russell. Like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. Now, Russell's on older tyres, but they're not that much older. 8 laps is, you know, it's a fair distance, but it's not like 20. 10th place is actually looking very, very close to call. There's a hole that's very close between Albon and K-Mag. Very, very close. They're running side by side. Look at that whole group of cars here. 3 wide on the main straight. Oh, nearly 3 wide into turn 1. Albon goes on the inside. Oh, Gasly holds it. Holds it around the outside. Oh, wow. That was fun. Oh, that was fantastic. K-Mag, I don't even know what the fuck they're doing with that strategy anymore. The only guy not to make a pit stop so far. I mean, he started in pit lane. He hasn't visited since. I mean, if he pits now, he's going to come out, what, Zhou Guan Yu territory. I think what they've used K-Mag for is to try to create a gap for Hulkenberg again. Only this time, because he's riding on so many penalty points, he can't really pull a whole lot of tricks out of his hat like he was doing earlier in the season. K-Mag, by the way, who is very likely going to be out of Formula 1, and from what I hear him talking, I don't even think he's going to miss it that much. I think he's had a decent career in Formula 1. He had a podium in his first race, which I was at, which was lovely. Kind of strange to think that that would be his only podium in the end. It's weird that he even had a pole position over that, but not a podium. After that, rather, but not a podium. Ooh. Alonso passed Alex Albon. So this is fun here. So Gasly has stayed ahead of Albon. Now, here's a quick replay. K-Mag just got absolutely swamped there. Just dangerous, like really dangerous, says Albon. Now, I think what he was talking about was the speed differential going through that banked final corner, because he looked like he really... Because K-Mag was really off the pace going through that bank corner. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw Albon in that little screen jink to the left. Because ideally, you'd want to hold like station right behind the Haas and just keep that draft as long as you can down the front straight. It helps keep the other guys away from you as well, but if K-Mag is that much slower going through the banking, then, well, whoops. I suppose it is kind of dangerous, but motor racing's dangerous, you know. K-Mag has pitted in the end, and now he's on the mediums. So that's, what, 30 laps to go on the mediums? I think that should be able to make it. Car's a lot lighter now. It's eaten a lot of its fuel. The track's rubbered in as well. It's about as rubbered in as it's going to get all weekend. So... No, actually, going back to what I was saying before, the engine department at Renault in Viry in France, the news that Alpine is absolutely going to ditch their engine and become a Mercedes customer team. At least they hope. The deal's not been done yet, but it's looking that way. And it would be engine, gearbox, and I think rear suspension as well, is what I've read. That has gone down... like a beer with a turd in it. They are losing their minds over there. I've seen words like they've been betrayed by Renault over there. I mean, they've had what's his name, De Mello, the fellow who's come in and trying to pick apart the absolute mess that is Alpine. And he's the one, DeMeo, whatever his fucking name is, and he's the one who's brought Flavio Briatore in as well. And Briatore's had a look at the thing and said, Jesus Christ, what a fucking mess this has turned into. This is where Oliver Oakes has been thrown in. They brought him in to just sort of see the racing operation day to day, which it'll be interesting to see how he goes. He's young, but so was Christian Horner when he started running Red Bull, and that worked out pretty well. So we'll see. I get the feeling High Tech is going to make a move to buy that team if Renault wants to sell it. They say they're not going to, but they're making every single move like they are going to sell it. So, you know, I get the feeling that that the Alpine team is going to be sold. And we could well have High Tech Grand Prix on the grid, say 2028, 2029-ish. At least by that time, I think. Now, we could... A lot of people have asked Andretti, why don't you buy that? He doesn't want to. He's got a factory already that they're building in England. They've got... here's Ocon making a move on a Sauber. That's got to be Bottas, surely. Into turn 1. Yes, it is Bottas. Bottas is in the pits now as well. Is that a replay then? Surely, whatever. So we'll see what happens. I've heard that there might be industrial action, strikes or things like that going on at the Alpine factory. Are they going to be safe getting all their bits, all their engines and whatnot through the rest of the season? This is science on Perez on the outside of Perez. Jesus, Checo, that was cheeky. Oh, not illegal, not really filthy, just a very forceful move by Checo there. But, you know, he's driving for his career now, and he still is driving for his career, even though he's got a deal for the next 2 years. If Red Bull finish second in the championship this year, I could see Checo getting the boot. I could just see that. I know that he's been signed. I don't know, Red Bull are a weird case, though. They could want to put Ricciardo in. Maybe they don't. Maybe it is Liam Lawson who goes there instead. Okay, so just radio nonsense, radio gaga from the pit wall to Lando Norris inventing fantastical scenarios to put to Lando just to keep him thinking in the race. So Carlos trying around the outside again of turn 1. It's not going to happen. Checo's very good there. He knows what to do. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to that second Red Bull seat. I think Red Bull are a total wild card. It could be that Perez is there for next year at least. It really could be. It could be that he doesn't even see out the season. It could be that he sees out the season and then Lawson goes in. It could be that Lawson goes to... what do they call that other fucking team now? Toro Rosso, whatever. Could be that Lawson goes there and Ricciardo takes over Checo's seat. It could be that Ricciardo's out and he's out on his ass and he's actually turned down Audi as well. He says that he's all in on Red Bull and he's got to try to make this thing work. And if it doesn't, I get the feeling it's probably going to be the end of Daniel Ricciardo. And, you know, he's had his little comeback sprint race in Miami, and he had his comeback race in Mexico last year where he did well, and he's had a few wins as Carlos Sainz gets past Checo Perez. Oh, Checo, buddy. As I'm talking about it, you know. Shit like this doesn't help. And I remember having basically a eulogy for Checo after the Spa race because I was convinced he wasn't going to see another Grand Prix for Red Bull. Shit like this doesn't help his case at all. It really doesn't. Again, that he started he had a little bit of a slow stop, but a little bit of a slow stop does not excuse this sort of shit. He's just dropping. Now he's got the newer spec floor on. They reverted to the older spec floor for Max Verstappen, just to sort of see what's going on with their development as like a direct comparison in the race, like a live test session. And Verstappen's certainly going better, but I mean, I think it's probably better if you switch the floors the other way, and if Perez is any closer to Verstappen, you can tell that it's worked. Verstappen's the kind of guy who would just drive beyond a lot of cars' limitations, which is why he's second now in that car that isn't that great anymore. Which is actually kind of nuts to think about for the Red Bull. The thing is, they've lost Adrian Newey now, and he's not working on that car at all. He's working on the sports car, the RB17, and that's basically it. They almost have to reverse engineer their own car now. What I've been hearing about Adrian Newey as well is it's going to be Aston Martin. If he decides that holidaying isn't for him, and he's just that kind of creative genius, I don't think he will stay still for very long. I've heard maybe McLaren, but I don't see it. I've heard maybe Williams, but again, I mean, fuck, they got science, but he was a desperate case. I don't really see Adrian Newey going to Williams. Aston Martin, Piastri's very wide in that corner there. And he's really close to Leclerc now. 0.6, 0.5 seconds Piastri's caught up. So Hamilton, box again. So it's Hamilton in 8. Yeah, I mean, he should get out ahead of Hulkenberg here. I can't remember the last time we had a yellow flag. I think there was one very briefly at turn 1 here when K-Mag went off. And I'm talking like 5 seconds. But it's been very well behaved for the most part out of these lads for the last couple of races, isn't it? You'd think coming back from the summer break, maybe there's a little bit of rustiness, especially going into a tight turn 1 like this. But no, everyone's very well behaved. I think the rustiness is all with the pit crews today. So Hamilton on the soft tyres for the final 22 laps. You'd expect him to get a fastest lap with that for sure. Surely. The thing is, Checo could pit right now and come out ahead of Hamilton. I mean, what is he? 26, about 27 seconds? Oh, looks like they might be doing that after all. Or is this going to be for Max? Soft tyres. I mean, it's a lot of time for Hamilton to make up over Perez, but Checo's 20 lap old tyres. Lewis Hamilton's coming 26 or so seconds from behind him with about 22 laps to go. Could probably catch him. Probably could catch him. Thing is, if they put Checo on soft tyres and he comes out 3 or 4 seconds ahead of Hamilton, I'd put money on Hamilton passing him anyway. Maybe they think he could steal a fastest lap or something. So Piastri, Leclerc making their way through some of the back markers here. George Russell, by the way, has fallen completely off of this fight for third. So Piastri, it looks like, could end up getting third after all. Norris, Verstappen, Piastri at the end of all of this. And after a big pit stop shuffle and a big order shuffle at the start. Not quite the order shuffle that we had last year, but, I mean, That's some good football news which I shan't divulge here because it's not to do with Formula One. Anyway. Another interesting thing as well. Haas, Uralkali. The Mazepins versus Haas is really Hamilton talking about the wind, whatever. Haas versus Uralkali has really stepped up. So when Uralkali, the Russian company, they got axed at the start of 2022 after they already launched their car with Mazepin involved for what would have been his second season in the car. They severed the ties. Essentially, when Russia invaded Ukraine, they put a whole bunch of what do you call those things? Fucking word escapes me now. Basically, you can't take Russian money. You can't trade with Russian companies and things like that. Haas were put in a bind. They couldn't take any money after the date. They couldn't take any money from a Russian company. They already had some. I think Uralkali had already paid the season basically in full. And then the ruling came down. Bam, you can't do it. So Haas cancelled the contract, but they didn't give the money back. Now, I don't know if that's because they thought they could get away with it. Jailbird Gene is very creative. That's why he was a jailbird. Very creative with his taxes and whatnot. So, this is Norris going on the inside of Stroll, putting a lap on, but that looked a little bit close, didn't it? Anyway, the long and short of it is, Uralkali believed that the money that they paid for the whole season, or at least half the season, whatever it was, should have been paid back to them. Haas basically told them to go fuck themselves. And that they're keeping the money, that they'll never see it again. And that's gone through the courts in the EU, who have ruled that, yes, Haas actually does owe that money back. Now, I remember when that court case was heard a few months ago, both teams, like both sides, treated it as a victory. You know, Uralkali was saying, we won, that's our money, so give it back. And Haas said, we won, we were right to do it. I don't know, make it what you fucking will. But the end of it is, the law enforcement has rocked up in the Zandvoort pit lane in the paddock on Thursday, went straight for Haas and put an embargo on all of their equipment and whatnot and said, this is not leaving the Netherlands until you pay the arbitration that is owed to Uralkali. So interesting times ahead. Will Haas even turn up in Monza? We'll see. It looks like it's all being resolved, and it looks like somewhere around the tune of $13 million is going to head from Haas to Uralkali after all. Now, I'm not sure if they didn't pay them back because they thought they couldn't because of all the, what do you call it? Not an embargo. Throw in that word if you've got it, because my brain's fucked. Basically, I don't know. It wouldn't be the least Gene Haas thing to just take the money and run. And, I only say that because he's gone to jail for financial shit before. That's a fact. Whether he would still do that, who knows? Only he would know. Injunction. Close, it's not the word that I was looking for. Like ban on trade. Whatever the fuck that word's called. God, it's right in the tip of me brain. I just can't get the thing out. That's gonna fucking kill me now. I'll look at it after the race and be like, oh god, that word. Jesus Christ. Anyway, while all that fun's been going on, we are on lap 55 of 72. 17 to go, including this one. Norris Verstappen, 15 seconds behind. Oh, God, no wonder I'm talking shit. There's not much of a race going on today. Leclerc, Piastri now 1.5 seconds behind, so he's dropped a little bit behind Leclerc. George Russell is boxing after all. That's interesting. I wonder if they think he's going to be underweight if he keeps on those worn tyres. Oh, Russell's disqualification, by the way, apparently was... Oh, that's a slow stop again. 2.8. What's going on today, fellas? It's like all the mechanics are on the sauce today. All right. Whatevs. Anyway. So Russell out in 7th now. 18 seconds to Perez. So, you know what? Perez has missed the chance to pit now. He's basically stuck there. That Max Verstappen guy, I think the Verstappen Dutch mascot looks like he was on the touchline for the Brisbane Lions earlier this week. I mean, he could will Max all he wants today. I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, they had 3 Max Verstappen wins at Zandvoort in a row. You know, you're going to be pretty happy with that. I mean, it would never happen at Albert Park. We would never get a home win 3 years in a row, and it looks like we'll never get a home win after all. God willing, Oscar Piastri can do something about that next year. Even better if Daniel Ricciardo ends up in a Red Bull, which that's a coin flip at this point. Or some fucking miracle happens and Jack Doohan wins his first fucking race, which would just be the most mind-blowing shit ever. Speaking of next year, not sure how next year's going to be with this channel, at least for the start, because if all goes to plan, I'll be at Albert Park and then I'm going on holiday for a little bit, so I won't be able to stream China or Japan, but I'll be back after that for every race. This is fun, this. Just talking shit during the Formula 1, because it's what I normally do anyway. Just now I have the Abyss to talk to instead of just my cats. Yeah, so Piastri getting asked how the tyre is. It'll make it to the end, he says. It's not amazing, but it'll make it to the end. I think Piastri has just been beaten today. It's the long and short of it. Can he get past Leclerc? We'll see. Actually, fucking shout out to Charles Leclerc today. He's done really well. He's done very, very well today. Well done. Well done, Chuck. You're doing great. Sainz is doing well as well in 5th. That's quite a turn up from Ferrari. I was expecting them to maybe be where the Mercedes are. It's very up and down, the form book, this part of the season, isn't it? It's a shame that it took McLaren and it took Mercedes a little bit longer to get their shit together, because we might have actually had quite a fun title fight. I mean, there's still 9 races to go after this, but I just do not see Max Verstappen losing it from here. It'll be like 2009 with Jenson Button, or... God, they're really lively around the rear end, these cars around this track. It's just such a joy to watch. Especially when they get really light on fuel and the back end starts getting a lot more action-y. More rear end movement than a strip club. So Albon getting past K-Mag there for 17th. Ugh, that's gotta hurt. Yeah. Williams at this point, the whole season is a throwaway, I think. Aiming to do better next year for sure. And 2026, I think, is their big chance. Don't discount the Dutch Ultras from running onto the track to get a safety car to help Max out. Fuck, probably. Actually, Extinction Rebellion is at the track. I saw pictures earlier. Extinction Rebellion, those fun guys, those mushrooms, they were protesting at least outside the track. I'm not sure if any of them got in. Now, it's not Just Stop Oil who decided that walking onto the track was a good idea, because that sort of shit is completely fucking brainless. I mean, whatever you think about global warming and all of that sort of shit, I think walking onto a live F1 racetrack to try to make a political statement of any sort is tantamount to suicide. And God knows what else, maybe manslaughter as well if it goes that wrong. What was it, that fella in the Kyalami race who got basically obliterated by a Formula 1 car back in the day, back in the 70s? It's a bad fucking idea. Now, would Max Ultras do that? You never know. I'm sorry if a bunch of Dutch guys come in here and fuck things up. We can't control them. Um, trying to think if that would be funny or not. I guess it'd be kind of funny, especially if it worked. I don't know how you'd adjudicate that as well. I mean, quite clearly they would get what they wanted, but it's like, I don't know. I don't think Red Bull or Max Verstappen can really help it. That said, Max Verstappen's going to need more than just this to get past Lando Norris at this point. I just don't think he's got the pace. I just don't think he's got it. Norris has such a commanding lead now. I think if the safety car were to, as Albon gets past Sargent as well, Alex is on the move. I think if a safety car were to come out, Norris could get ahead with a pit stop anyway at this point. I think Max is absolutely fucked here. Now, the big thing is, who is going to be third on that podium step? Is it going to be Charles Leclerc or is it going to be Oscar Piastri? Or are they going to collide? Is it going to be Carlos Sainz? It's a lot of copium out of me, but I'll take what I can get at this point. Get the feeling I might have already seen Carlos Sainz's final win in Formula One. Which would be a real shame if it were true. Only legendary number 2 drivers like David Coulthard have their final win at Albert Park. Oh, that's a great move by Gasly around the outside of Hulkenberg. So the K-Mag defense has not worked for Haas. They've been caught. Alonso next in line. Gasly's doing great today, isn't he? 9th place, which is about the max that you can get, looking at the 4 teams ahead of him. That Alpine is not a great car either. It's just not, but they have just done a bit of magic to it. Enstone is a good team. I'll put it that way. Enstone is a good team. I think they have many times in the past pulled rabbits out of the hat. They've almost gone bust. I remember when they were Lotus. Actually, they were running Mercedes engines in 2015, that team. They almost went bust in 2015, and then they were bought by Renault for cheap, real cheap. And now they have the piece of shit Alpine team that's about to die. But that team usually produces the goods. It's a bit like the Jordan team, which was then Force India, or Spiker, Midland, Force India, and so on, and is now Aston Martin. Those 2 teams, Enstone and Silverstone, they are very good at making cars. And they're very good at racing cars, and they're very good at fixing cars. Real overachievers, both of those teams. Got to be an interesting future for them, but I mean, the future is the future. Right now, Gasly is holding 9th position, and he has Hulkenberg between himself and Alonso as well. I don't see. I mean, Hulkenberg's on 46 lap old tires right now. I don't see him fucking doing it. I think Alonso's going to get 10th here. Stroll could well get 11th as well, but Stroll's got a pit stop. No, not a pit stop. He's got a penalty, doesn't he? I think that might save Hulkenberg from dropping further down. And Daniel Ricciardo, then Ocon. So Tsunoda's had a bit of a weird one, hasn't he? He's dropped right the fuck down today. I'll have to go through that. I wasn't really keeping an eye on Yuki today. I have to see what's going on there. It wouldn't surprise me if V-Carb have completely fucked their strategy again, though. They tend to do that quite well. So here we go, 10 laps to go. Norris basically with the lead. I think he could almost stop for a coffee at this point and still make it ahead. Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc still ahead of Piastri, who's now 1.3 seconds. So Piastri might be conserving tyres, might be conserving battery. We'll see if he's got 10 more laps, including this one, to make something of this. So we'll see what he can make of it. Then Sainz, Perez, Russell, 8 seconds now. 8.5 seconds behind Perez, closing quickly. Very, very quickly. Lewis Hamilton still 2 odd seconds behind Russell. So I'd say they're going to be in formation. Russell ahead of Hamilton again. It's a shame that he got that DQ in Spa. Quite like George Russell, and it's a real shame when a driver you quite like gets thrown out of a race win. Especially when he worked that win so well. Turns out it's just a bunch of little things in the end that Ended up with him weighing 1.5 kilos under the limit. When the car was drained of all of its fuel, they reckon it was a bit of excess perspiration from George himself because it was hot that day. Here's Fernando Alonso getting past Hulkenberg. Hulk goes to the inside to try to cover it. He's going to keep it on the inside, but he's going to have no grip. And Alonso around the outside and through, just like he did at the Indy 500. Good stuff. And Alonso is on the way. Stroll, 3.8 seconds, 3.5 seconds behind Hulk. Can he do it? Can the madman do it? Because Stroll, at this point, is going to finish behind Daniel Ricciardo. Can he get Hulkenberg between them? Might be the only way that he saves. It's not even fucking worth it, though, is it really? He's not going to get a point from there. Whatever. Maybe it's just a personal pride thing. Anyway, Lewis Hamilton on board with currently the fastest lap. So, yeah, a decent-ish recovery from Lewis Hamilton. I think, what is he, 1.7 seconds behind Russell. Ooh, he's catching him a little bit. I don't think he'll make it through in George, though. These gaps tend to accordion, concertina, depending on who's saving tyres, who's saving battery for a lap and things like that. So I can imagine Russell will be able to stay ahead of Hamilton. What was I saying? Yeah, anyway, it turns out it was just a little bit of excess perspiration from Russell himself, which, you know, he lost a little bit of extra weight that they weren't expecting in the race. And because he took his tyres so long, they lost a bit of extra weight in the race and excess plank wear, you know, just a little bit more weight. And the end result was Russell was underweight at the end of it and got thrown out, which is a real shame because he did super last time out. He was driving very well. I didn't think he'd win. I was even saying it right here on this channel, so how's that for me Nostradamus shit? I was saying up until the last lap, I just couldn't see him winning, and I mean, I guess I was right in the end, but I mean, fuck, he crossed the line first, so, you know, max respect and all of that. Just to replay a Norris here, I think just not getting anything really wrong. Oh, just a little lock up over the curbs. It'll be alright. God, look at those flat spots on those tyres now. There. It's a well-worn, used slick. So, lap 66, 6 laps to go. What do we think of this race? It's the first race in 4 weeks, which I think makes it a lot more palatable than it otherwise would have been. Norris winning by 18 seconds is actually quite surprising. I mean, it could be 20 by the end of this. That's a hell of a margin. That's a hell of a margin, actually. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be a little bit closer. I was expecting Piastri to be on the podium as well. So, I mean, fair play Charles Leclerc. He's made it work. Absolutely made it work, you know. Did the undercut, and he's held onto his position, so well done. Charles Leclerc, who I think deserves a better car. He does. He really deserves a better car. It's nice seeing Norris fighting at the front, and Verstappen, Norris, even Hamilton, Verstappen, Norris, them all fighting at the front is great, and it's fun. And Piastri too, it's great and it's fun, but I'd love to see Charles Leclerc featuring more in an actually competitive car, in a properly competitive Ferrari. I think he would be fucking dynamite, especially in a championship race. 2022 fell apart, but that car fell apart, you know. A bit like Seb Vettel had it in 17 and 18, where there was a bit of a title charge and then it just completely and spectacularly imploded. That's what I mean. I'd love to see Charles Leclerc with a car, with a team that's consistent, that doesn't get the strategies wrong, with a car that's good, that doesn't get the updates wrong. I'd love to see what Charles Leclerc could do in a title fight, because he would be so much fun. So much fun, because he's so fucking quick, which you can see right here. 3rd place. Oh, Piastri is closing up a little bit, though. Keep an eye on that. It's not a lock yet. He's done very well. It's not a total lock yet. I get the feeling if Leclerc was to miss it from here, it's a little bit of robbery, but, you know. We'll see what Piastri can do. Look at the power gap between the top 8 teams and then Gasly in 9th. Well, the top 8 drivers rather than the top 4 teams. And Gasly in 9th. And no retirements either. Amazing. No retirements. I guarantee you, Bottas and Joe both wish that their cars had given up the ghost a while ago. It's going to be interesting to see who gets that seat now at Audi. Their big target was Carlos Sainz and they didn't get him. So we'll see after that. We'll see who they can get. I'm racking my brain. I'm trying to think who they could bring in. A realistic guy that they could bring in. From what I'm hearing, they could well just keep Bottas out through next year. Which, you know, he wouldn't even have to move his locker, you know. That'd be fine for him, but Bottas over K-Mag, yeah, I'd go it. Bottas over Joe, I mean, yeah, I'd go it. Bottas over Sargent every fucking day of the week. Checo might be an interesting one, but if Red Bull were to ditch Checo after this, it might be too late for him to find a ride anywhere else. That's the Crown Prince of Bahrain in the McLaren pit crew there, in the McLaren garage. So a lot of fucking pressure there. A lot of pressure. McLaren is now 100% the Bahraini team. So, I mean, talk about a VIP, you know. Crown Prince of Bahrain shows up and he owns your workplace. You better fucking do things right. Who else could go in that Audi seat? The thing is, I think they were really banking on Carlos Sainz. And I thought, you know, back in like February, March, even April, I thought that Audi was probably where he would end up. The historic connection between Audi and the Sainz family and the fact that it was a factory team, or rather was becoming a factory team and all of that. The Audi project's not really progressing like I envisioned that it would. It's been very stuttering, which is worrying. But I don't know. I mean, Audi have conquered Le Mans, Formula E, WRC, GT racing, DTM. They've won everything that they've ever been in. So you've got to imagine that they'll get their head around Formula One. I've heard people saying, and I won't mention his name, but I've heard some fucking channels saying that Audi won't get it right because Toyota didn't get it right. Which just, as an argument, is fucking ridiculous. Blows my mind. Because one company couldn't do it, another one can't. You know what I mean? Like, Toyota's got fucking nothing to do with Audi. Nothing to do with it. I see what they're getting at, that it's a cautionary tale. You know, a manufacturer comes in and doesn't get it right. But BMW came in and they won a race. And then the financial collapse happened, so, you know, there was that. Red Bull came in and it did pretty alright for them. Mercedes are a manufacturer who came in and it did pretty alright for them as well, so, you know. Just being a factory team doesn't mean that you're going to spend a lot for nothing. Not unless you're Renault, in which case you don't really spend all that much anyway. Look at I love the angle on the gyrocam here. That's intense banking. I think it's about 18-ish degrees, I think. 18 or 20 degrees or something like that. It's intense. It's really intense. Okay, 2 laps to go. Well, a lap and a half, really. Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz, Perez, who looks like he's going to hold on to it in the end. Russell, 6 seconds behind Checo, so just didn't quite have the pace or the time to keep up. Then Hamilton in 8th, Gasly 9th, Alonso in 10th, Hulkenberg 11th, Stroll 12th, Ricciardo half a second behind, but Armin van Buren going to wave the flag. Don't wave it. You've still got one more lap to go, dude. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck this up. Don't do a Winnie Harlow, mate. Actually, you know what? I don't even know if that was a fuck up from Winnie Harlow. I remember watching that Canadian Grand Prix and it was fucking so boring. So maybe she was right to wave it early after all. Ricciardo 13th, half a second behind Stroll, who still, from my mind, has that penalty coming, that 5-second penalty, so don't worry about it. So that'll be Ricky in 12th, Stroll in 13th, and a big power gap back to Albon 14th, Ocon, Sargent, Tsunoda, K-Mag, Bottas, and Zhou Guanyu. The Saubers 2 laps behind, Gasly and the rest of the field 1 lap behind. The top 8, just basically not that surprising, really, considering the power gap between the top 4 teams than the rest of the field. So, Norris wins, and this will actually be Norris's second win. It could have been his third, but I think still that they fucked up Hungary, and they should have let Norris just take the fucking win. Because that's a lot of points, and if it does come down, if it, unlikely as it is, if it does come down to those few points he missed in Hungary by giving up the win, you know, that's, to me, a gigantic fuck up from McLaren. Piastri is going to win again. He'll probably win before the end of the year, so, you know. Either way, final lap, Lando Norris on his way. He's going to win it. And look at that, a sea of orange. And they're all congratulating him. I think they know. I mean, it's easy to take a Max Verstappen loss here when you've already had 3 wins in a row here. And there it is. Lando wins. Good stuff. Good stuff. And Crofty's going on about a championship challenge. Buddy, come on. And the timing screen's just fucked up. Gasly, Alonso, and Bottas, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Hey, I doubt that. Okay. Alright, so the timing screen has absolutely just lost its mind. That's actually pretty funny. Yeah, that's it. McLaren wins. McLaren wins. Well done, lads. Well done. I think that was a second Lando Norris win was a long time coming. I really thought that it could have been Austria, and they crashed. It should have been Hungary. Well, we all know what happened there. Could have been Silverstone. They fucked that up. So it's been a long time coming. Oh, it could have been Canada as well, and it got away from them. It's been a long time coming, this. So well done, Lando. Great way to start the second half of the season. Although we're round 15 of 24. It's more than a half, isn't it? Norris on the radio. Yep. Chirping like a bird. He's loving it. Well done, Lando. Well done. Good drive today. The winning margin in the end, 22.8 seconds. That's astonishing, actually. 27 seconds ahead of Piastri in 4th. That's surprising as well. I think Piastri would have been closer if he could have got past Charles Leclerc, but he couldn't. So, you know, well done, Charles Leclerc, as well. I think Norris, decent pace. Leclerc, probably for me, is my driver of the day. To magic a podium out of that, I think is really good. It's really good, and he withstood all that pressure from Piastri as well. So, well done. Well done, Charles Leclerc. 3rd place. And he misses out on the winner's trophy, which if what I saw before the race is the winner's trophy, that's probably not the worst thing in the world, because that thing looked like a bit of hot dog shit. Yeah. Red Bull sounding a little bit like a funeral with 2nd place. They're starting to fall apart now, that team. Newey's gone. Wheatley's gone. It's starting to fall apart. And the fact that Mercedes has pulled out of the Verstappen chase, and now they're going for Antonelli. If they've got the new Max Verstappen and Kimi Antonelli, then they don't need Max Verstappen. And then it makes me wonder what's going to happen with Max when Red Bull starts to fall off. 2026 is huge. 25 is big. 25 is big for Red Bull. 26 is massive. If that Ford engine doesn't go the way that they want it to, and if it's not fast, if they struggle after Newey leaves and Wheatley leaves and all of that, they could be in a lot of trouble. They could really be in a lot of trouble. It could be between Audi coming in, Red Bull losing a lot of its guys, Aston Martin maybe picking up Adrian Newey, from what I hear, something like 100 million or something ridiculous per year for 4 years. I mean, that's what I've heard. I don't know how true that is. We'll see. But it could be. McLaren look like they're really back in business. Behind them, it could be all change. It really could be all change in the next couple of years. Oh, bless. Orlando's dad's there as well. Real family affair this weekend. Driver of the day, according to the Zoomer girls who watch this shit. Not for me. There's my driver of the day just pulling up in park for me in the red car. Good podium, buddy. I wasn't expecting that at all. Really wasn't expecting that. And I was expecting Piastri to get by him. So a little bit disappointing out of Oscar. Very impressive out of Charles Leclerc. I think he handled his car brilliantly. And Gasly did well as well. Alonso with a cheeky point at the end. Hulkenberg did, in fact, hold on to 11th place. Gasly, maybe, even driver of the day. Gasly had a lot of good moves, a lot of great moves, a lot of great overtakes, a lot of great defending as well in the race. I think he did superbly in a car that just ain't that quick. So, yeah, those two. Charles Leclerc, Gasly, my drivers of the day. Who gets it out of both of them? Flip a coin. Who cares? Yeah. I think that's about it. Ocon in 15th. Ooh, good God. Sargent in 16th. We'll see if Logan Sargent makes it to Monza. We'll see. Apparently it's kicking off. Maybe there was a bit of truth after all to Sargent. James Vowles no longer talking. We know that James has tried to replace Logan Sargent at least twice this season already. He wasn't the one who signed Logan Sargent. That was Jos Capito who signed Logan. He's got nothing to do with him, even though he's a Williams Jr., really. Although he was only a Williams Jr. for one season of F2 before he got promoted to F1. The family connection isn't really there. Not like it was with, say, Seb Vettel and Red Bull. It's so weird to see a whole generation of Formula One stars mostly getting along. You know? Montoya was saying it a couple of weeks ago that it's, back in his day, none of the drivers really got along. And they didn't really. There was no social media or anything. They didn't really have to get along. They all had their own circles. They all came from different countries and whatnot. So, and they're all rivals in the end. There's a real sense of camaraderie that's coming through. It's almost like an IndyCar paddock. Max Verstappen getting interviewed here. Anyway, that was fun. What are we saying in the end? 2.5? 3? Nah, 3 stars. Fuck it. It was a nice way to come back from the holiday. It would even gloss over the fact that there were no retirements, so that point of interest is gone, that there was no real fight for the lead once Lando got by, so that point was gone. Leclerc, Gasly, they made it somewhat interesting. Yeah, that's about it. God, I wish Daniel Ricciardo was faster. Whatever. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for watching. I think it's a good time to wave the checkered flag on this stream as well. Thanks for watching, wherever you are in the world. It's lovely to have you here. Yeah, maybe I'll see you again sometime. I'll be streaming here again next week. Monza next. That'll be fun. That'll be good. Who's going to win Monza? I mean, Mercedes were very quick in Spa, so it's hard to go against that. Or we'll see, actually. We'll see. You know, this time last year, it was just a Max Verstappen show, but today, going into Monza next week, I have no idea who's going to win, and that is fun. That makes the sport very, very fun to watch, and it makes these streams fun to do. Yeah, I hope you'll join me again next week. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you again soon. Have fun, whatever it is you're doing in the week, whoever you are, whatever you do. Be kind to each other, and I'll see you soon. Ta-ta for now.